Listen up. You've been lied to, conditioned, programmed. You think success is supposed to happen on your timeline. You think you're supposed to snap your fingers, hustle for a week, pray for a day, and suddenly everything's supposed to fall into place. Wrong. The truth is, most people are weak. They want the result, but they don't want the process. They want the crown, but don't want the war. They want the money, the power, the cars, the women, but they don't want the suffering, the silence, the solitude it takes to become that man. You see, God's timing isn't late, it's not early, it's perfect. And the only reason most of you don't get what you want is because you quit before He finishes building you. You want your blessing in month 6, but your character isn't ready until year 5. Trust the process. Because success isn't a microwave meal. It's forged in the fires of adversity. You don't get diamonds without pressure. You don't get muscle without resistance. You don't become powerful until you've walked through hell and kept going. And that hell, that waiting season, that's not punishment, that's preparation. You see, when you ask God for strength, He gives you problems to solve. When you ask for courage, He puts you in danger. When you ask for growth, He isolates you. You think you're being punished, but you're being processed, molded, built, sculpted. Because kings aren't born, they're made. And while you're sitting there whining, asking, why hasn't it happened yet? God is saying, because you're not ready yet. Let me ask you this. What would happen if you got everything you're asking for right now? Would you be able to handle it? Could you maintain it? Could you protect it? Could you sustain it? Most of you would blow it. You'd self-destruct because you haven't become the man capable of carrying the weight of what you're asking for. That's why the process is brutal. That's why it takes time, because you're not just building a business or a brand or a bank account. You're building you, and that takes fire. You need discipline, ruthless discipline. You need pain. You need late nights. You need early mornings. You need betrayal. You need loneliness. You need to hit rock bottom and not stay there. Because every single moment of suffering is sculpting you into the warrior you're supposed to be. God doesn't bless cowards. God doesn't promote weakness. God doesn't elevate men who haven't earned it. You want your life to change? You want to escape the matrix? Then you better stop complaining, stop waiting, and stop quitting. Start trusting, start grinding, start becoming, because everything you want is on the other side of pain, patience, and purpose. And God's not going to give it to you until you become the man capable of receiving it. You want to be powerful? You want to walk into a room and command respect? You want people to feel your presence before you even open your mouth? Then you better suffer. You better embrace pain like it's your best friend. Because power is the reward for those who endure what others run from. Every setback, every failure, every moment you're down, those are the payments for power. That's the currency of champions. And while you're out here crying over inconvenience, real men are out here bleeding for greatness. God's timing, it doesn't bend for your feelings, it doesn't adjust for your comfort, it aligns with your development. You keep praying for success, but you haven't been punched in the mouth by life yet and kept going. You haven't stood in the rain with nothing, still saying, I believe. You haven't been betrayed, broken, bankrupt, and still refused to quit. That's why it hasn't happened yet. God will not give you a kingdom you are too soft to rule. You think just because you work hard for a month, a year, or two, that it should all click. No one owes you anything. Not even God. He gave you life. He gave you time. He gave you breath. That's your opportunity. What you do with it, that's on you. And the truth is, most people waste it. You wake up late. You eat garbage. You scroll through your phone like a slave. You don't work. You don't train. You don't read. You don't hustle. But then you cry, why isn't it my time yet? Because it's not time for you to win. It's time for you to be humbled. Because until you learn to suffer with honor, you'll never lead with power. God hides greatness behind pain for a reason, because only the strong will go through the pain to claim it. The masses, they'll quit. The weak, they'll blame. The chosen, they'll rise. So let me ask you something brutal. Have you earned your success yet? Not dreamed it, not wished it. Have you earned it? If not, then why would God give it to you? The process is divine. Every delay, every hardship, every loss, It's designed to forge your discipline, to purify your ambition, to sharpen your character. God doesn't want just to give you something, He wants to make you into someone. Because if you can't handle struggle, you don't deserve strength. If you can't handle rejection, you don't deserve recognition. If you can't handle being broke, you don't deserve being rich. You've got to go through it to grow through it. And when you finally stop asking why me and start saying try me, that's when God knows you're ready. That's when the doors start opening. That's when the impossible becomes inevitable. Because the process is the test, and only the proven get promoted. Look around you. Nobody cares about your excuses. Nobody's coming to save you. You think the world's going to hand you a trophy because you almost tried? Because you thought about it? Because you had a rough childhood? Wake up. The world respects results. The world follows winners. And God doesn't reward the lazy. He elevates the relentless. Now you're out here crying about why it's taking so long, why it's so hard, why you're still broke, still lost, still struggling. You know why? Because your mindset is soft. Because you haven't built the mental armor necessary to walk through hell and come out smiling. Let me tell you something. God's timing is strategic, not emotional. He doesn't give you success when you want it. He gives it when you're worthy of it. And most of you, you're not ready. You can't even stick to a routine for 30 days. You fold the second life punches back. You talk more than you act. You dream more than you execute. That's why you haven't made it yet. You're still being built. And every setback you cry about is a lesson you're supposed to learn. Every delay you're frustrated about is actually a doorway to something greater. But you're too immature to see it. You think God is ignoring you, but He's actually protecting you. You think the silence means failure, but the silence is where faith is forged. Let me tell you something. Faith is the real flex. It's easy to have faith when you're winning, when the bank account's full, when your DMs are blowing up, when everyone's clapping for you. But faith in the valley, faith in the shadows, faith when nothing is happening, that's where men are separated from boys. Because if you don't have the discipline to keep grinding with no applause, you don't deserve the spotlight. If you can't move without validation, you're not ready for elevation. God's not going to bless you if the blessing is going to destroy you. So every single day that you wake up and you're not where you want to be, remember this. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. That pain you're feeling, that's your training ground. That silence, that's your boot camp. That rejection, that's your redirection. But the weak, they'll curse the process. The strong, they'll thank it. You better stop questioning God's plan and start questioning your grind. Because the truth is, it's not God that's late. It's your discipline that's inconsistent. Your habits that are trash. Your mindset that's fragile. You don't need a new blessing. You need a new mentality. So shut up, show up, and level up. Because the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the version of you you're too lazy to become. Isolation is the birthplace of greatness. Every real man, every king, every warrior who ever did something extraordinary, he first had to walk alone. He had to cut people off. He had to go ghost. He had to spend time in the shadows, training, building, sharpening, not performing. And that's what God does to the chosen. He isolates them. Why? Because when you're surrounded by weak minds, weak habits, and weak energy, you become like them. You stop thinking like a king and start settling like a peasant. You stop grinding like a warrior and start scrolling like a slave. So what does God do? He rips the comfort away. He separates you from the herd. He locks you in silence. And you think you're being punished, when in reality, you're being prepared. Because it's in isolation that your identity is forged. That's where the mindset gets built. That's where the vision gets clear. That's where the man gets hardened. You learn to rely on yourself. You learn to be disciplined without applause. You learn to move without being watched. That's where you become a savage. Listen, if you can't handle being alone, you're not ready to lead. If you always need to be around people, always need feedback, always need to be motivated, you're not a king, you're a dependent. You're weak, you're emotionally soft. You need to learn how to dominate in silence. Because when God wants to elevate you, He first has to disconnect you. You can't take everyone where you're going. Most people don't have the discipline, the faith, or the vision to go where you're headed. They'll slow you down. They'll infect you with mediocrity. They'll keep you comfortable when you're supposed to be in combat mode. Cut them off. Cut off laziness. Cut off gossip. Cut off anything that isn't leveling you up. This is war, and in war, distractions are deadly. So if you're in a season where you're feeling alone, good. Stay there. Embrace it. That's your advantage. While everyone else is partying, you're planning. While they're sleeping, you're building. While they're posting nonsense for likes, you're laying bricks for legacy. Because when the spotlight finally hits you, you won't just be ready, you'll be unstoppable. God doesn't elevate those who beg, He elevates those who build in the dark. So stop complaining about being alone. That's where the chosen are forged. That's where lions are made. That's where weak boys become elite men. Let the world sleep on you. Let them doubt you. Let them ignore you. God sees you, and He's preparing the stage. But first, He's making sure you're worthy of standing on it. Everybody wants to win, but nobody wants to wait. You want the six-figure months, the dream car, the ripped body, the respect, the empire, but you want it now. Let me break something to you, real clear. If God gave you everything you're praying for right now, it would crush you. Not because you're weak forever, but because you're still weak right now. You haven't built the internal infrastructure to handle the external success. That's why there's a delay. The delay isn't rejection. It's not abandonment. It's not failure. It's construction. God is building you behind the scenes. He's testing your patience, your consistency, your hunger. He's watching you work with nothing to see if you're ready for everything. See, everyone wants to be successful, but nobody wants to become the type of man who can maintain success. You want to skip the grind and inherit the throne? Kings don't inherit thrones, they earn them. You ever seen someone win too early? Lottery winners, one-hit wonders, athletes who blow up too fast, they crash. Why? Because the external changed, but the internal stayed weak. They didn't earn the success. They got handed a crown their shoulders weren't ready to carry. That's why God is making you wait. That's why He's making you grind in silence. That's why He's keeping the spotlight off you for now. Because if you got it too early, it would destroy you. If you got it too soon, your ego would kill it. If He blessed you too fast, you'd waste it because you wouldn't value it. Struggle teaches value. Working when no one is watching builds integrity. Discipline without applause builds strength. Delayed gratification builds kings. So if it feels like it's taking forever, good. That means God cares too much to let you go out there half-baked. He's not just building your dream, He's building you. You want to be rich? He's teaching you financial discipline. You want to be respected? He's teaching you to respect yourself. You want to be powerful? He's letting you experience weakness so you understand the grind that real power demands, because the process is the purifier. You're either going to come out of this as a refined warrior, or you're going to quit like everyone else and blame the timing. But timing isn't the issue. You are. You're being built for something bigger than what you can even imagine, but you've got to prove you can handle it. So next time you're frustrated by the delay, ask yourself this: am I becoming the kind of man who can dominate the dream I'm chasing? Because once the time is right, once God looks at you and says, now He's ready, nothing can stop it. But until then, you grind, you build, you become.